This is the Real Estate Power Play Podcast, getting you the information that you need to be a successful real estate investor. Hosted by Mark Monroe, Ronald Walker, Gabe Rodarte, and me, Marty Grizzanti. Combined, we've done thousands of real estate transactions. So get ready for real stories and true case studies on finding deals, growing portfolios, and making money. Welcome to the show. Good morning, guys. What's happening to the Real Estate Power Play? We are rocking and rolling. We got Marty, Mark. We're ready to just help everyone grow and connect. This is going to be an exciting one. We have a lot of cool stuff to go over. So how you guys doing? How you doing, Marty?
Oh, excellent, Gabe. Excellent. It was such a tremendous honor to finally meet the both of you gentlemen at the event, which we're going to talk about.
Those who don't know, we went to an event this past weekend, which has been awesome, Commercial Academy. And I met Mark before. We've been hanging out before at another conference, but Marty and I, it's the first time we've been doing this whole thing. We met each other once. It was amazing. It was great.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Mark, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. It's bright and early in California time. So I'm out here in Palm Desert right now. So the weather's beautiful, but I enjoyed meeting both you guys. Marty's quite the firecracker in person. The energy that comes right off you, it's great, man. And the networking was unbelievable, but we had a good time. Marty, I got to get that. I was trying to find that video that you did. We have to get that out there at some point, but yeah, it was a good time.
Funny. It's so funny. As I was thinking about it, I was like, that's one that I have saved. So I'll upload that as soon as we're done with this. So that'll be good for everyone to see kind of just us all together at the conference right out. You know, it's nice to see the branding of the Commercial Academy, which that's where we were. But what an excellent event.
Yeah, yes. Gabe, you stayed extra, right? You stayed a few more days after.
It was powerful. It was good. There's a lot of cool stuff to just really share about this, stuff that I've learned and stuff. And we want to get back to you guys. So guys, if you're listening to this and you're, like it, share it, connect it with others. If you have questions on anything that we're talking about, today is going to be about commercial and the stuff that really we got from this conference that we went to. And we're going to go over stuff like how it might have pivoted some of our single family stuff and how it might pivot some of our strategy and what we might want to do differently. What's our takeaways, contacts, relationships, maybe how to connect with some people in these things if you ever go to these things. So we're going to dive into it right now. Just crush it with stuff, guys. Marty's ready to go. So Marty, you're doing single family. You have multifamily property. You have mobile home parks. You have a marketing team. You know how to get in front of sellers. You know how to make stuff happen. You are the man. Okay. So those who don't know, Marty is in Rochester, New York, upstate New York. He is dominating, him and his team, Matt, his partner. So, dude, it's been like a week. What's been happening? Like it's a week later.
Right.
What's something that you're like, wow, this is what I really wanted to bring back.
Right. First off, it's so much energy you get from those events and you get out of your element, right? Sometimes it's important just to get out of your backyard to see what's going on in the world. The world's big, the country's big, people are doing gigantic things, Gabe and I were lucky, and Mark too, because we all have our own groups, right? Mark's got the creative finance or the creative real estate group. Gabe's got the North Houston group. I'm a part of the upstate New York real estate group. And just getting out of that and kind of seeing what other people are doing is so powerful because that like, hey, there's some real big fish in these waters. And you see like, hey, you don't have it together. Like you got a little bit, you got a good foundation, but there are some people doing some tremendous things. And it was just so inspiring to see it. I mean, we're there, guys. And again, a lot of people listening that are just starting, going to those events, any of them, right? Any of them. I mean, we have one on Thursday at Radio Social at 6:30, right? So Just going to events in general, you meet people that, because not everybody's loud like me and Gabe and Mark, right? Not everyone's loud like that. And Gabe and I in market, we met some people who are silent assassins.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That you would never know what they're doing because they're busy collecting money, right? And by the way, guys, I don't know if people know this listening. We don't get paid for this. Believe it or not, this is all free. And our big takeaway was, hey, what's the truth of the matter? This market that we're in right now is at the tippy top, right? We are at the tip top. And so Matt and I, we discussed it. You know, Matt wasn't able to make it, but gosh darn it, I wish he was, but he'll be there at the next one. And it was, let's start to figure out, hey, what's the part of our portfolio, the single family homes that are not really making a ton of sense that we don't want to hold for the next, 10, 20, 30 years. And let's start to get that off the books. Let's reevaluate some of the commercial stuff that got me really excited from that, obviously, Commercial Academy. And so that's what we're looking at, Gabe, Mark. That's what we're doing right now. We're actually selling probably about 4 on our portfolio that just aren't really what we want to keep long-term. So that was one huge takeaway. But I would love to hear what Mark actually took away, and then we can go to Gabe because I want Gabe to talk about the second, third day where we weren't invited.
Okay.
So yeah, the same thing for myself. The takeaway, pretty much, I think all of us got the same thing. Is they just kept pounding at the conference. We are at the top of the market, and with the interest rates changing and the environment, that's how we're going through. It's a lot of these big boys are starting to liquidate some of their commercial assets and just kind of getting cash ready for the downturn and start grabbing stuff. So that was probably one of my biggest takeaways out of it. Now, granted, you got to remember some of these are commercial, and so they're in some sectors and some classes they're actually are starting to feel the default rates, like in the retail market, and then the hospitality. That was a big takeaway, that they're already seeing the default rates in that, which makes sense, from COVID, and the government's no longer throwing money into helping businesses out. And then same thing, I went back and I reevaluated what assets that I want to start looking at and what I want to do to liquidate. My markets, Florida, a little different because of the political environment. So we're just looking at how to position ourselves, because we feel Florida is still going to kind of go forward, but it just won't be the double digits like it has been. Same with Texas. But other parts of the markets are definitely changing. And then the networking, the caliber of people networking, and then how I'm underwriting deals, especially, I'm looking at doing some land development stuff and some commercial stuff. So, underwriting those and discounting them, 15, 20% when I'm underwriting, when I'm making my offers. So that's kind of one of the big takeaways. But Gabe, go ahead. Why don't you take over and jump in?
That's good. Mark, I'll share, but I want to go back to some of that stuff with the land development, because man, there was a ton of people. And I think those who want to get into doing land development might be able to get some takeaways from someone who's doing it, but then also some of the stuff that you see in differently from that event, maybe just, talking to people at coffee or whatever, so I knew before getting into it, just because I was with some of these people before, and like, it's time to liquidate what you want to liquidate. If you want to sell something, sell it. I got some mentors that have, 80 doors, 100 doors, and they're like, we're selling anything that I don't want to hold for the next 10 years. If I don't want to hold it for next 8 to 10 years, I'm going to go ahead and get it done right now. They see the top. Now, this might scare a couple people, but don't let it scare you. What that means is that, everyone has a different style with their portfolio, and it's cool to say that you have a portfolio and all those things, but you also have to manage it. And you also have to look at it as a business owner and not just an investor. Like if you're in investing and you're doing wholesaling and flipping, you're doing the investor side. You're doing the actual work side of the whole project, right? Of everything that you're doing in real estate investing. But you get to a point where you're going, I got to start looking at this as a business, right? I'm a business person. I'm looking at this as, okay, there's portfolio, but like all of us, there's multiple aspects per portfolio. You have the rental side, you have the land side, you have all these different things, and they all do different stuff. So one of my big takeaways was from Jared Elmar, and he was sharing this part of going, I don't know if you guys saw this whenever he was speaking, but he was
Good looking guy.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a cool guy. And he was sharing about how he was diversified and how that helped him go through this season. of the COVID season. He goes, it actually worked out really well that we had all of these other things, producing during the whole beginning, where it's like the apartments and people weren't paying rent and all those crazy things like that. So those were some of my takeaways of going, okay, how do I become more rounded in my business? I'll still wholesale, guys, right? I'm still going to do some flips. We have some stuff going on right now. When the market changes, maybe not as many, but we're still doing stuff. Rentals, all these other things. But what are other assets, right? What other businesses do I want to create to help, move through the process? And so, and just keep a good, strong foundation, just keep it going. So those are some of the big takeaways for me that I started asking of what do I want to put my energy towards for this next phase in this portion. So I got one of a question that, since we're kind of talking about being at the top, Marty, what do you think a new person should be doing right now? I mean, should they be, acting in fear, or should they be like, okay, I need to freaking grind it. Like, let's double down.
Yeah. I think that's a great question, because it's, even whether you're new or been in the game for a while, you need to kind of ask yourself that question. And I think one of the nice things about, and I'll say it again, going to a networking event or going to continued education, is that can keep learning. Be a student, right? Don't think you got it all figured out and say, hey, I'm a flipper and that's what I do. Well, if that was what your motto was back in 2008, 9, you're in trouble, right? So you need to learn how to develop and collect skills from other people who have, done this cycle. Let's not pat ourselves on the back too much. I haven't lived through a down cycle. I think anybody who's bought in Florida and bought in certain areas of Texas since 2014, you really can't make a mistake. Right. So what are these people doing now? And that's what, you should have urgency. Don't be scared, but have urgency and know, hey, if you're trying to buy something hoping that it's, hey, well, my market appreciates 10% every month. Well, I heard a lot of stories about how that went bad in Florida and Phoenix and, a bunch of other places. So I would just say, keep learning. I would say right now is where you really want to be careful. I know I always talk about ready, fire, aim. Let's try to be a ready, aim, fire in these next couple of months here. We got a lot of things going on in the economy right now, and there's a lot of stuff going on that's just a little kooky. So I would say just educate and talk to as many people as you can, and then figure something out. But education and networking first, and then something will open up, and then you might just surprise yourself.
Right. Man, that's really good. Mark, what about just the fact of, and I want to go back to that land thing in a little bit, but what about just tagging off of what Marty is saying? People got to put the work in, right? Like somehow, like, how do you know where to put the work in?
I totally agree what Marty was saying. You got to add more tools to your tool belt. That's the bottom line, to start educating yourself more. And quite frankly, you got to look at this as when the market does correct, that's when the buying opportunities come into play. That's where you should be able to just start doubling down and tripling down. But you got to know what you're doing and be educated. If you're in it doing fix and flips, you, like what Marty's saying, that's the people that got really hurt during the last down cycle. I don't think it's going to go like that. I think it's just going to start leveling off and slowing down. And in some markets, the residential is slowing down. If you look in the Alabama, Louisiana areas, it's actually starting to decline a little bit. So just when you underwrite your deals, when you look at, give yourself a little bit of more, add another 5-10% in your offer, discount offer, and just start putting offers, and just don't jump at something. Just be a lot more, stricter in your underwriting. And then also just keep an eye on, talk to your mortgage guys. I lived through the downturn, and this was what was the first sign, is when the mortgage guidelines started changing. That's when everything started so stay in touch with your mortgage guys and your people that in the business. And once you start seeing that happen, then that's, the lenders start tightening up the guidelines. So that's really what you want. And they brought up in the academy that in the commercial side, they've started tightening up a little bit in the lending. They want more down from the client, the loan to value ratio, if you will. But that was probably the one thing. And just, I'm kind of looking forward to it, quite frankly, because that's when, if you look at the guys that picked up stuff in 2008, 9, and 10, I mean, those guys crushed it, you know. And I know one guy out of where was he out of Phoenix? He ended up picking up roughly 200 to 300 sub 2 deals and sold them all off to a hedge fund for like $13 million. Yeah, he did really well during it.
Yeah,
but yeah. So how about you, Gabe?
No, well, you know what? We're talking about tools, guys. And so for anyone who's listening right now, if you have questions of going, okay, right now you're listening to it, or you listening to this at a different time, and you have questions for one of us, or maybe Ronnie, of like, hey, I have these skills. What other tool set do you think I should learn next? We'll be happy to tell you. You know, like, okay, well, what do you know right now? Okay, I think everyone should learn how to move and shake off of a property through wholesaling. I think it's one of the first tools to really get. If you're not a buy and hold person, or if you need to learn how to pivot. But you said sub 2, and I was thinking seller financing, which, you know, they kind of come hand in hand. And so if you want to learn more than the norm, because I've actually, I don't know about you guys, but I've had these conversations come about in the last month of like, man, I'm a one-trick pony, or I only know a few things. So I would say that's really one of the things that maybe we should hammer on, of going, look, get that tool belt up and going. Seller finance, sub 2, do some training on that. See what that's about. Watch some YouTube videos. Marty, you could get, I don't know if you see that question by Cole, but watch some YouTube videos, look at some of these other skills that you could be doing, and that you could be learning. And then also what Marty was saying was just like connect with others. But I think it's a great opportunity that's coming. I think, in my gut, guys, I definitely want to share with people to double down on your time, double down on who you are, invest in yourself first, like really hone down and pour into yourself. Freaking books, YouTube videos, calling people early in the morning. There's a guy there, his name's Jeremy, and he's the guy from Vegas, and he has a book coming out. It's really cool. And man, he would get up at like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, phone's right there, and he's making phone calls. He's getting up, getting ready, making phone calls, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, just going after and saying, I don't care. Like, I'm going to make this work. And, you know, some people are answering the phone, or maybe you're calling somebody in a different area code or something, you know, but take that time, right, to do it. I think that's probably the best advice I could give right now, is to really pour into yourself and make money while you're doing it. Figure out ways to do it.
Yeah, no, okay. That's awesome, Gabe. I just wanted to say something on top of that, because I think what can happen during these downturns, and even in the upturns, what we're in right now, is that you're going to fail, right? And so what you need to know, though, in the bottom of your gut, is that you're unstoppable, because failure is different than being stopped, right? You know, for us, we've had plenty of times where we've been punched in the face, and that's been a failure for us. But we knew that we were going to get to where we needed to be, and we knew we were going to get there. And that's kind of having that mindset of being unstoppable. So if you keep that in your mind, like, hey, let it come, let the failures come, and fail quick if you can, right? And you want to fail fast, and then make sure that when you're looking at that failure, you're doing a little bit of a forensics on it, so you can see what the heck happened, right? So you want to do that, but you don't want to point blame at anybody when you do that. You just want to see it, do your evaluation, move on, just because you know you're unstoppable. We got a question from Cole here. What do you see as the best REI hedge to ensure you can survive a downturn? You know what I would say is that it's always going to be a good idea to buy right. You know, I would say that will never go out of style, and that will always hedge your bets when you're coming through a downturn. And what I'm saying by that is, I think a lot of people have bought, and if you've got a 30-year fixed at like 2-3%, those are super, super hot. Those are going to be like unbelievable, I think, in the next couple of years. Like, so I would say trying to make sure when you are talking to sellers and you're going to get financing from banks or anything, it's long-term and it's as low interest as you can get. And it's, they're willing to hold paper. I think that's what I would do. I think that's, if I'm going to hold something right now, if I'm going to take something down, I don't want anything that's happening with a lot of these mortgages, these commercial loans, which is, 3-5 year balloons.
Right.
It's a little tough. And we got a few. So,
I have a few of those.
Yeah, we have a few. So what I would say to hedge against the ones that we do have is that we also have a bunch that are those long-term seller finance deals. So that's what I would say is when you're negotiating, keep that in the back of your mind, is that you want to get something that's going to be long-term and low interest.
I want to piggyback off of that. That's great stuff. Have multiple exit strategies. When you're underwriting deals right now, what happens, like if you're using a hard money loan to do a fix and flip and you can't move that property, what happens? Can you have that hard money loan stretch? And if so, can you put a renter in there? Can that cover for a couple of years? You got to look at those options. So start having multiple strategies, but Marty nailed that on the head. Just start looking discounting. Like myself, I'm looking at doing a piece of land, 500 acres we're looking to develop. And we're actually reaching out to builders in the area and really getting their pulse on what they're looking at and what they're anticipating. But you also, one of the big takeaways I took away is there's still parts of the country that's hot. Everybody is moving. You got to look at the job growth, where the job growth is going. It's all moving to the south. It's moving to the South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Texas, Arizona. That's where everybody's migrating to. So that's one of the things where I'm really focusing on more in my real estate, where the jobs are going to grow there and what's going to keep, because in that area, the market is still going to keep moving along. It's just, you're not going to see the double digits. And you just want to be careful in some markets, with it going backwards, just make sure you give yourself a better pricing, like Marty up there, like in Rochester area. I don't know if you're starting to see a little bit up there, or what are you seeing up in Rochester?
Well, we're a little unique just because actually, if you look at Redfin, we're the number one for the least amount of inventory. We just don't have the inventory. We really don't. Our stock is old stock. And so we're in a unique spot. And again, I think a lot of it has to do with that migration out of the cities, New York City, and they want a house you can buy in Rochester. You want to get out of Boston, you can buy in Rochester. So there's some of that. We'll see. We will see, and it might happen sooner than later. The other thing is, I'll tell you who I'm worried about. I'm worried about the people that have been buying short-term rentals based on the fact of the income that they're going to get based on that short-term rental, right? Yeah. So I'm not worried about the people that are buying rentals and then saying, I could make $200 a month, or I could try to make $1,000 a month, right, through short-term rental. I'm worried about the people going, for this to work, I got to get it for, I can make this work if I know I'm going to get 20 days of the month.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I can pencil this because I know I'm going to get at least 27 days out of the month that this is going to be rented. That's who I'm really worried about. And I don't think people are really talking about that. And I would be very worried because people are buying based on, well, this just sold for this. This just sold for this. And the appreciation that's going on with those short-term rentals. I could be wrong. It could be like the best thing to do during the downturn. But I'm just a little bit worried.
I look at that as buying opportunity for us.
100%.
Okay, guys. So this is the real estate power play. We, we do this every Tuesday. So like us, share us, connect us with, or if you want to connect with any of us or ask questions, even now while we're going live, let us know. We're talking about the market condition, kind of about the real estate, and then also some of the stuff that we took away from a commercial event that we went to. All of us have different businesses and different takes on the stuff we got. One of the takes, so we're talking about there's a 5-day weekend, and most of the guys on here went on a 3-day, and then there's an additional 2-day with some of the people that are doing the wildest things right now. And I want us to pivot into the power play side. And one of the things of really building a real estate power play team is the word team. Like, I noticed people having good partnerships, JV partners. I know that Mark JVs with a lot of people on the Power Play channel. Marty does. I JV with people over here. And just really having a good investor team, right? And if you're going to do investing, what are some of the things that you need? What parts do you need to have? But I noticed everybody who was doing really well had some established foundation already of the investor team. Like, well, who do they rely on? What are the other stuff? Almost everybody had an assistant, which was really cool. Like, yeah, okay, I'll send it to my assistant. And most of them, I think 95% of them were VA assistants, except the bigger offices, but they all had VA. So if you're new and you're doing this and you're going, man, I can't afford this, or assistant, oh my gosh, $25 an hour, $20. No, we could be looking at it going, you know what? You have a VA assistant that's affordable. They're going to come along beside you and help you build your business. And that's something that's really empowered me over this past week of going, how do we need to change a couple things? I already talked to my guy and he's awesome. He's probably listening to this thing right now. So Marty, real estate investing, we're helping out people. We want to help people grow. They need to build a team. What are something that from either the event, a commercial, to just to highlight it, like how do you expect somebody newer to do this and learn and build and do these other things? Is it just JV?
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm actually jealous. I want to talk to you off air about the assistant stuff. We're running into that where we need more help. So that's really cool. But know yourself. I think Gabe talked about this earlier, is kind of know what you would bring to the table. I think that's number one when you're thinking about a team, because you don't want to be thinking me, right? You want to be thinking, what am I going to bring to the table that's going to help other people? And if you think that way, the team will develop. I believe that. I believe your team will start to just organically come when you go, what do I do really well? What can I bring to the table? And what can I provide? So that when you're talking to somebody and they say, well, what do you do? What they're really saying is, how can you help me? Right. When you're at a networking event, anything, what do you do? Immediately think, well, that means how can you help me? And if you start saying, well, I'm really good at sales, or I'm really good at marketing, and I can do those things. I can drive for dollars very well. I have that time and I have that hunger to do it. And I know it's just, I don't understand the numbers and I don't understand the construction side and I don't understand management quite yet. Great. Figure out what you're going to bring to the table, because all of a sudden people go, what, you can do that? Man, I wish I could do that. All I can really do is just, raise money. And it's like, you know what I mean? And it's like light bulb. So it starts to just happen organically. I think, of course, you want to get a realtor. Of course, you want to have someone that is a hungry realtor, or is a hungry real estate attorney or title off, agent. And I would say find rock stars if you can. These people. These people are the ones that are doing a podcast. These are the people that are, on social media posting about what they're doing. These are the people that don't give an F, and they're going to tell you because they want to provide value to people. And if you can provide value to people who are providing value, you are going to win in this game. So remember just try to figure out what are you really good at, and just try to start getting it out there to people. I mean, there's so many people listening to this right now. And there's so many people who aren't listening to this right now who are investors, or they want to be real estate investors. And nobody really even knows it, Gabe, Mark. They don't even know even knows in their network, right? Nobody knows what you're trying to do, right? Listen, there's a small minority of people not listening to this. The majority of the folks are in right now listening.
That's super funny.
But no, truthfully, I think you got to tell everybody about what you do.
You know what? I want to chirp in. When we're sitting there, the weekend starts. We grab a coffee, we grab a breakfast. We're gonna go sit down. We sit down. We find a perfect spot. We do our first intermingle thing. We pause. This is for everybody listening. All three of us also. And the pause happens. We do a little break. We all introduce each other to different stuff, right? And then we come back to the table and I go, hey, Marty, by the way, you want to put your best foot forward. And you're going, oh, dude, I totally needed to hear that. Right. I mean, let's just be really transparent here. Let people know, like, man, I thank you so much. I just came after my world. We flew in, we did this. I'm thinking about my deals. My phone's buzzing, other stuff's going. We got closing. We got 10 flips. We got this. We got all these things. I am not focused on how I'm delivering my message, who I am. Right. And it took you, maybe 5 minutes of the little break or something like that for you to go, okay, how do I want to present myself? And what's my best foot I want to put forward? And I wrote down this thing, guys. Figure out your value differentiator, right? Figure out where you differ from some other investor, right? And what you can bring to the table. So I just want to add that in there, kind of tag off about what Marty was saying. Mark, we're on the topic of helping newer investors or investors that are around with the team and understanding from commercial, the commercial thing that we just went to, just how amazing it was. Everyone has a team. You now have a different dynamic by doing land development. What has that done differently compared to kind of like a solo almost, right?
Yeah, great stuff. And Marty, you hit it right on the head too. It's, find somebody. I always look at the opposite. You said find, what you're good at, focus on that. I do the opposite. Where I'm weak at, I look for somebody that's strong in that area, and then I bring them into. That's kind of how I've always done it, and I built several businesses that way. And I found a good business partner that we're in businesses for 10 years. We had multiple businesses where I knew where I was weak, where he was strength. So it really offset, and it kind of helped us grow quite a bit that direction. So that's kind of where I focus on. But on the land development, that's a whole different game. That's like you have multiple players in that one. Many consultants that you bring in, civil engineer, everybody in the team. And it's just like, we're just actually coordinating right now. We're actually doing a call tomorrow at 6 a.m., California time. Or Thursday. So we're just coordinating that and make sure that we're still doing the right things and moving forward and doing the feasibility study and, looking at, what is going to happen to the market if anything does. And if we sit on this land, for a few years, what's going to happen. So we're looking at all those different things, and, and our margin may not be as strong as that we originally had into it. So we'll just look at that, the profit margin, make sure what can our exit strategy be versus, many multiple options on it. But yeah, definitely you need multiple teams. In the VAs, I love VAs, as you guys know that, and really setting up systems. That's what I've been really strong at in multiple businesses, just setting up systems through the years of just making sure it's like almost assembly line, and use your CRM to really help out and kind of prioritize, as you guys know, closest to the money. That's what I like, and that's what I train my VAs. All right, what are you working on right now? And VAs are great. They made my life huge, and my VAs are great. Highly recommend. A little tip on that if you're training your VAs, because I've heard multiple people starting out and they're frustrated with a VA, and I actually went through that myself when I first started a VA many years ago. I was like frustrated 3 months into it. I'm like pulling my hair out. They still didn't know what they're doing. Do videos, do training videos. When you train them, you have the video, set up a really easy system and, save it in Google Drive training, and they can go in there and they can reference it. And then as you hire more people, they can go through the videos as well. So that's good stuff. And I know, Gabe, you've had a great VA as well there.
Yeah, guys. So, again, real estate power play. We're talking about building the team from a perspective where we just left a high intensity commercial investor group that's helped us go back to some of our normal day-to-day stuff and go, okay, what can we do? One of them was just understanding the market. Another thing was understanding like the building out of the team. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. If you have any questions about any of that, if you want to go big, you really have to have a better team that's around you, and you got to learn how to JV, and you got to learn how to trust people. I mean, it's a lot to go over, but you can do it. That's the thing, right? As far as doing videos and stuff, if you are I wish I could show, I almost want to do like a breakout segment, Mark, where we just kind of go in and help people. You know what? Why don't we do that? If you are listening to this, and if you listen to this other time, I will dedicate some of my time, 30 minutes, to someone else's system. It might just be talking through your system, but I think it would be great just to do 30 minutes of I just want someone to get breakthrough of going, dude, I just need, maybe we could do like a separate Zoom or something, Gabe, of just like help someone, like, man, I needed the help. I needed someone to come in and go, look, you have all these things. I remember I showed Ronnie my system one time, and Ronnie goes, holy cow, where's all these leads coming from? And I'm like, they're all right here. And I'm going, dude, like, you got to sort them out. And I'm like, I'm trying, dude. Like, we're just going and going and going. And he just created a couple filters that was like amazing. So as far as the videos go with your team, I think it's the best way to do it. I know what's amazing is that I know a lot of teams that have been built and they don't use video at all. They don't use video for communication. They don't use video for refreshing or anything. I just showed my team member to do something this past week, and it was just through, okay, I'm going to tell you how to do this, but let me make a video real quick of it. So that way you can watch it 2 or 3 times if you need to. Where is the button at, or what do you need to do? So this is stuff that's really powerful for you guys to put into place. And what you don't know now, if you're newer, you don't know that you're creating the culture for your business. You don't know that you're creating a database of info. So the next time around, someone's able to just to plug in. It's not that much harder to do. It's easier and easier and easier. So that's about it when it comes to team and stuff like that. Now, coming off of what we just saw, guys, we saw some crazy stuff people were doing. Did it blow your mind and go, I think I could, did it go, I think I could do more? Like, I want to go to Marty first, because I only know Marty as a more guy. Like, I've never seen him as going, I think I'm good. Like, never. So Marty is probably going, well, I just tripled my goals.
I didn't think I wanted to get into the gold mine business, but after that one I did. And
that
just
was
for
wild.
just for reference, there was a member there who's not just doing commercial real estate and apartment buildings, but also has like the only license to mine gold and ore in Colorado. I mean, and I think part of that is, in this business, what's really cool about real estate is, and I've said this in other videos, but the corridor principle, where when you start in business, just wholesaling or single family, whatever it might be, just you're walking down this corridor and it's kind of like a hallway, and there's just enough light to see a foot in front, so you take these steps,
right?
And all of a sudden more doors on the side start opening up, and you just don't know until you take that first step. And that first step for you might be, making that offer on that home. That might be, calling that seller and telling them, hey, I want to, you getting under contract, so it's just so interesting, all the things that can open up in business. And yeah, I think it always is going to want you to, times 10 some things. And it did for us. And that's why, we took a short-term approach on some of our things in regards to the properties that we had, saying, well, let's just hold on to them and we'll just make it work. Well, you don't have to do that. It doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to be hard, right? We can do some things that make your life easier. And that can be, tough to kind of get and understand. But yeah, I think it was really interesting seeing what people are doing. I mean, one of the guys bought a hotel on Times Square, and
wow, dude,
and so if you just go, you're the same guy, you're flesh and bone as me,
right?
And it's like you said, it's the team. What part of the team are you, right? It's not just him by himself. So think bigger. That's what it did for me. But at the same time, I think it's important to figure out what you're good at, figure out what you want to do, right? It's not for everybody. And it's a very, very interesting thing that what we saw. I'm really excited about what's coming down the line for us. And I hope people are excited too. I hope people have hope in regards to, hey, anybody can do this. It's for everyone. In a way where if you are someone who's hungry and willing to take a little bit of some learning lessons and use that, you can do it. And yeah, that's what I'll say on that.
Cool, dude. Cool. What about you, Mark?
Well, I wanted to ask you, Gabe, and Marty mentioned this before, let's jump in a little bit, like what you learned and what you went through on your second couple of days afterwards.
Yeah, we could do that. So one of the big things that I noticed was, know when to hold them, know when to fold them. right? It was a thing where there's some projects that are out there right now that are, they're kind of marginal. And they're like, okay, if you do this, you can 7X it in the next 4 years. All right. If everything, like today, if the market stayed consistent 4 years, it would be a 7X deal. But you have a 3X right now, and it's one of those type of deals. Like, would you take a 3X from what what you put into it? Would you take something that you take the money off the table, 1031, reinvest it into something else right now? Or are you going to go and put all of this energy into this one project? And if this one project doesn't work, that kind of mentality. I saw that. I thought it was beautiful to just see them go through the process, and then everyone kind of picked apart of going, not apart in the negative way, but just really added to of going, well, what about this point of view? What about that point of view? What about if you put a driveway right here instead? What about the ingress and egress of a piece of property? And the real estate side of things, or the commercial side, when you're looking at a retail center, what about can you get permitting for these other things? And just realizing how much soundboard you really need if you want to add a couple zeros. It's worth it, guys. I'm telling you, it's worth it. If you want to add some zeros to these transactions, but you really need to have not just a team, but soundboards, and soundboards in the right way, right? Where you have someone who's saying, I can't get my tenant to pay right now. Well, have you tried this other way? Have you tried these other things, or have you renegotiated? So those are some of the things that I saw also that was really powerful. I think that it has opened. Yeah.
Can you go a little bit deeper on that? Like, because a lot of people watching right now,
right,
and even all of us, like, what was some of the suggestions that they said, like the tenants not paying and like different options? What was some of the stuff that you learned?
So here's the crazy part. And guys, if you're thinking I got this down, I do not have this down. I am learning so much. Okay. But the cool part about like anything commercial, is that you're going from triple net lease to, looking at the common area of your property, to how much are they really paying for? They're paying for the grass. What are you paying for? All these different aspects. You have opportunity for you to give rent for a month or 2 months to get them situated. Who's going to be paying for the surface area, for the facade of the building? If it's going to be remodeled, is it going to be, tailored to a restaurant, or is it going to be, if it was in a shopping center or something? So what I've learned was everything is negotiable as long as it works for both parties and everybody's able to win. Like, everything is negotiable. So if you find yourself in a really tight spot, guys, it's negotiable. You can work it out. You can work some things out, and to not give up. And I saw some people come back late, like talk about, man, this deal, I didn't think the person was going to take this, the purchase price. Let's say if it was going for like 2.4, 2.5. I knew the person. I knew he was a hard haggler type guy. He's good, strong negotiator. So I didn't come back and offer a better deal. And then later on, the next person is going, yeah, that deal that so-and-so passed up on, right? I got it for 1.8 million. This is a $600,000 difference. And it was all because of the timing and renegotiating, and someone else just willing to go out there and just really negotiate and willing to go through it and ask those questions. And I'm going, man, this happens to me in the single family world all the time, right? Like, I'm always in that situation of negotiating, renegotiating, talking, seeing what people really need. And guys, it's the same exact thing, except in a different ballpark, right? You're just in a different field.
Aren't they all human at the end of the day, Gabe?
Yeah.
Everyone we're talking to is a human, right? Like, just because it's $1 million, multi-million-dollar deal doesn't mean there's not another human on the other side that has feelings and, had a bad day or is hungry, right? So that's what I took from it, is like, hey, if you can do a deal, and it takes the same amount of effort at times, when you're working through some of these deals with these single families where it's lien after lien, and you got to deal with this payoff and negotiate this term, and why not add another, like you said, couple zeros to your bottom line by just thinking a little bigger. And by the way, Gabe said something that changed my life. Gabe, are you ready for it?
I'm ready. Which
Are you ready for it?
What's
that? What does capital follow?
Well, just share the story. Let's share the story and elaborate on and in this.
So this was the night before I'm leaving, and you know, Gabe and I were having some real serious conversations about, all right, because here's what happens, guys, when you go to these events, you can get really amped up. You can get really amped up, and that's great. Motivation is great, but that doesn't stay long term. What stays long term is like a real 90-day plan, or like the disciplines that you are going to take from those events. So, or a mindset you're going to now approach your business with once you leave an event like that. So, you know, Gabe and I are talking, I'm talking about, Matt and I we're flipping houses, and we got these goals with our flips. And Gabe said something that, was very powerful, and just in how little adjustments, with bigger properties can make dramatic differences on the back end. So Gabe, you told me something, but we were also talking a little bit. What was your point of view when we were having that conversation? Then I want you to just say it. Just get right to it.
Get right to it. So guys, if you're in the single family space and you're getting there, we were talking about where does the money flow?
Yeah.
Right. Where does the money follow? How do you get into the vein of the money, whether it's flipping more houses or whatever? And I was like, at the end of the day, like, money isn't really attracted to like a new roof or plumbing, a rehab of a plumbing job, or, the fixtures of the cabinet, the latest and greatest thing. You have cool things on the wall nowadays. It's not really doing that. Like, if you look at really, really big money, it's not interested in those things. It's interested in the cap rate of a property, right? It's interested in the numbers, like the real numbers of a property. And that, after we got done talking about it, I'm like, man, it was like an aha moment of going, we could be chasing a flip. You could be chasing, like, you guys ever do a deal, and maybe someone who's on here, you ever do a deal just because you wanted to prove that house right, of going, this house will not get the best of me. Like, I'm going to freaking tell this thing what to do. Who's the boss? It's going to look freaking awesome. I'm going to crush it. It's going to be amazing. Right? Anyone? No.
100%.
And then at the end of 45, 90 days, you're like, whew, man, I did it. But then at the end of the day, you're like, okay, you got to do it again. Right? You got to do it again. You got to do it again. So that's something that came to me over this conversation of us literally going, how do you get in the vein of momentum of really building successful businesses, and where the money really flows?
Yeah, I think the key thing is, and it's what's funny is, and the way my brain works, it doesn't always complete thoughts. So bear with us. Is that, sometimes people go, well, I have to do a single family house first, and then I can do a 4-family, and then I can do a 10-family, and then I can do a 100-unit, or something like that. Right. Or, I got to flip 5 houses before I can do certain things. And I think that's wrong. I just think that's wrong. And I think that if you don't know any better and you go, yeah, no, I always bought 100-unit buildings. There's people that have done that. So if that's something that you want to do, if you go, listen, I don't want to do the transactionary every day, get up and have to get and hammer the phones again to find the next flip. And trust me, sometimes I don't either. Guys, so that's what I'm getting at, is that I think there's other ways of doing it than just, you have to start with a single family and then work yourself up. I know we on this channel talk a lot about single families and wholesaling and kind of that kind of thing, and that's great. But if commercial is something that you want to do, then I think that mentorship is important. I think that the learning is important, and then becoming a part of a team is important. And you can really make some magic. So yeah, I think that's really good, Gabe. I appreciate it.
I have a question for both you guys, because one thing, and the reason why we go to these events is really to network and to, as Gabe always says, your soundboard. Like, what's a good way for somebody that's new in the business, how to find those people to be in the network? I mean, kind of that's what happened with all of us. You know, we all met at one mastermind about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. We all met there, and then we just we've all taken ourselves to another whole level as a group, because we call up, hey, I'll call Gabe and I used to talk every morning when we were sitting there working out. You know, we used to bounce soundboard, and then, you know, we learned so much from each other. Now we both moved on to other people that we kind of team off with. Gabe, why don't you talk a little bit about that? You know, like that's something, because you're really good at that.
You know, guys, I think I figured it out for me, and I share with others, is the more intentional you are with what you want to acquire, whether it's a relationship or the network of people, if you're intentional with it, it's gonna happen. So if you're intentional and you're going like, I only know Facebook, or I only know Facebook Marketplace, or I only know these groups, and you're intentional, man. I know a guy that's in this market over here, and he's been intentional for like 4 months. And now I was texting him the other day, and he was new, but he's so intentional about his relationships and everyone he's meeting. He's meeting all the players. He's like, man, I'm meeting all the players. This is so cool. And you know what he said? He was like, I am amazed at how when you put it out there, good stuff comes back. That's the part that he said. He's like, I'm amazed that the community is not as bad as people make it sound. Is not as hard as people make it sound. If you're intentional and you're going, hey, so the guy was busy. He didn't answer my phone call. Okay, well, he's really busy tomorrow too, so he didn't answer my phone call. But let me be more intentional. Hey, when's the best time for us connect, and what can I do for you? You know, just stuff like that. So Mark, I think those were kind of the cool things, is like, if it's Facebook, then it's Facebook. If it's Instagram, then it's Instagram. If it's meetup.com, you go to meetup.com. Just be intentional. And then be intentional about what you want to receive out of it, you know, and then you go until you get it. And then you go to the next part. Like, I need a lender. Man, I need a lender right now. So you go and you meet and you focus on those. So that's somewhere where I'm at. And I learned how to do that because I was overwhelmed in all of it in the very beginning. I was overwhelmed with every bit of it. And I thought I had to know everybody right away. And then it's like discouraging when you come back and you got 5 business cards and you're trying to figure out, you know, what's going on here. So, I don't know, Marty, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's great. I think being intentional is a real important thing. I think one of the things, just with when we're, you know, getting back to the commercial academy, I'll tell you this. I think it's really a good play to, with the conversations you're having, be like really intentional about that conversation and putting all of your thought and putting all of your effort in that one particular conversation, and not going, oh, there's this person that's coming by and I saw this guy talking before, and oh my God, she's killing. I got to talk to her about this. And then you're kind of like being non-fully there for those other conversations. So like, if for anybody that's going to come out to a meeting or meet up, and I don't know why I'm going down this path, but it just made sense on intentional. And Gabe was saying, when you're talking to somebody, just truly be in that conversation and not trying to think about the other conversations you want to have after this. And the other thing is, if you walk away from that conversation and you don't know what that person does, you don't know where that person's from, or you don't know what that person's trying to do, you did a very bad job in that conversation. Because the best conversation would be where they leave it going, I don't really know much about Marty, but man, it was really nice talking to him, and he knows a lot about me. Right. So now that I can find out how ways to help him. Right. So you want to be the one that's constantly engaged in asking the questions and being the one that wants to find out, because everybody wants to talk about themselves. So the person in a conversation who knows the most about the other person after wins.
That's good. That's good. Follow up, guys. Look, again, this is Real Estate Power Play. We're trying to help you guys grow to the next level.
Do you guys care? We're trying to help you here.
We're trying to help you here.
No, we know you care. We know you care.
Yeah.
We love you.
All right. So, we love you guys.
We love you.
Follow up. Here's the thing. I have a list of follow-up calls that I have to make. Okay. I have it down on my little note section of like, hey, I want to connect with that person. There's different ways that we connect with different people, of how you share your contact info when you're at events, when you're doing other things. Make sure you put emphasis on your follow-up, right? The follow-up is key. How many people did we connect with, Marty, Mark, that you're like, I need to just send a text message. They're going, dude, that was awesome. I'm crazy busy. Let's connect at some point. That's pretty much what my whole text messages were last week. We just left. It was not this past weekend, last weekend. So all last week, I was just following up. I got to remember who I connected with, and I want them to remember me. And we both exchanged information. You know what? Let me get your number. Let's connect. If there's that conversation, I just want to let you know the doorway is open. The corridor of whatever that Marty was talking about with the dark and the footsteps and everything else, whatever that was. Yeah, that doorway's open for you. Okay. And so you establish that relationship. You need to follow up by simple text message. Let's do it. I'm going to go meet with some of the people that Marty and I got to meet at that one table. There you go.
Is Mark sending out text messages right now?
No, this is my calendar today. I'm completely booked with everybody that I met from the conference.
There you go.
I'm completely booked all day today on this.
There you go. See, there you go, guys. So, so that's so key and so important. So, again, we're kind of coming off of a high in this power play of just stuff we learn and stuff we want to help people gather. And some of these things are just the basics of real estate investing and building a business, building a team, building good connection, being intentional about whatever you do. When it comes to the market conditions, everyone sees what's going on. Have a couple tools in the tool belt, right? Don't just focus on one. When you get that, be intentional about those other tool belts. And if you want to level up right now, if you want to level up to commercial, and you think that's something that you enjoy doing, start digging into it. Start doing it now. Don't wait. I waited. I think I should have been into this game about 3 years ago, guys. Just because it was something that I've always wanted to do. I was just too darn scared to do it. And now I'm going, man, I love this stuff. This is so fun. So y'all, that's about all I have for Real Estate Power Play. I just want to invite you guys to like what we're doing, to share it with some of your friends if you think that it's of value to you. Mark, you want to do a sign off for us?
Sure will. Everybody, if you're listening, make sure you tune into we also have this being recorded for our podcast. So follow us on your favorite podcast channel. We're on YouTube, and we're here every Tuesday. If there's anything that you want us to go over, feel free to drop us a note, and you can contact either one of us in our bios on the Facebook page or YouTube page, or even in the podcast. So thank you guys. Marty, have a good one. Gabe, have a great one.
All right, guys. See you. Love you. Peace.
This has been another episode of Real Estate Power Play, guiding real estate entrepreneurs to a brighter future. If you liked what you heard, consider subscribing wherever you listen to your podcast, or follow us on YouTube at Real Estate Power Play.